stranded among stars. The escape pod's warning systems blared as Commander Ilara Chen fought to stabilize its descent through the atmosphere of the uncharted planet. Sweat beaded on her forehead, her knuckles white against the manual controls as the pod's outer shell glowed orange with heat. The Terran exploration vessel Pathfinder was gone, destroyed in the unexpected meteor shower that had torn through its hull like tissue paper, leaving her as possibly the only survivor. "Come on, you piece of junk," Ilara muttered through gritted teeth. "Just a little longer." The surface of the planet rushed up to meet her, a landscape of purple vegetation and strange crystalline formations reflecting the light of a distant binary star system. With a final desperate maneuver, she managed to angle the pod toward what appeared to be a clearing before impact. The crash sent her slamming against her restraints, the taste of blood filling her mouth as darkness claimed her consciousness. She awoke to silence, the pod systems dead, emergency lighting casting a dim red glow over the cramped interior. A quick self-assessment confirmed 2 broken ribs and a nasty gash on her forehead, but nothing immediately life-threatening. The pod's external sensors were offline, but a glance through the cracked viewport revealed that night had fallen, 2 moons casting an ethereal blue glow over the alien landscape. Ilara accessed the emergency supplies, taking inventory of what she had to work with. A week's worth of rations, a portable filtration system, a standard-issue energy pistol, and a multi-tool. The pod's emergency beacon was operational, but help would be months away at best, if anyone was even listening. One problem at a time. Chen, she reminded herself, the old academy mantra surfacing from memory. She applied medical nanogel to her wounds and settled in for the night, planning to explore her surroundings at first light. Dawn on the alien world was spectacular. The binary stars rising in sequence, bathing the landscape in first red, then golden light. Ilara stepped cautiously from the pod, her handheld scanner sweeping the area for immediate threats. The atmosphere was breathable, if slightly higher in nitrogen than Earth standard. The purple vegetation seemed to pulse subtly, as if breathing in rhythm with the planet itself. She had crashed in a valley surrounded by towering crystalline formations that resembled mountains, but reflected light in rainbow patterns across the ground. Her scanner detected water sources nearby, and what appeared to be artificial structures several kilometers to the east. "Well, that's unexpected," she murmured, adjusting the settings on her scanner. The structures registered as ancient but constructed of materials that defied immediate classification. The prospect of intelligent life, or at least the remnants of it, both excited and concerned her. First contact protocols were clear, but those assumed the backing of a starship and diplomatic corps, not a lone human with broken ribs and limited supplies. Necessity outweighed caution. If there was any chance of survival or rescue, she needed to investigate. Securing the pod and packing essential supplies, Ilara set off toward the structures, keeping her scanner active and her senses alert. The journey took most of the day, the alien terrain challenging to navigate. The purple vegetation gave way to fields of what resembled grass, but moved independently of the wind, reaching toward her as she passed. The crystalline formations became more numerous, some small enough to hold in her hand, others towering hundreds of meters overhead. As she crested a ridge, Ilara froze in awe. Before her lay a city, there was no other word for it, built into the side of a massive crystalline mountain. Structures of impossible geometry jutted from the crystal face, connected by bridges that seemed to defy gravity. The entire city pulsed with a soft blue light that ebbed and flowed like a heartbeat. And it was inhabited. Figures moved among the structures, tall, slender beings with iridescent skin that reflected the light around them. They moved with a fluid grace that suggested an evolutionary path vastly different from humanity's. Ilara's heart raced with equal parts excitement and apprehension. First contact was the dream of every Explorer Corps member, but making it alone, without backup or proper diplomatic training, was daunting. She was so entranced by the sight that she failed to notice the group approaching from behind until it was too late. She turned to find herself surrounded by a dozen of the beings, their height making them tower over her by at least a meter. Their faces were featureless save for large, multifaceted eyes that reminded her of insect compound eyes, but with a depth and intelligence that was unmistakably sentient. One of them stepped forward, extending a limb with 7-digit-like appendages spread in what Ilara hoped was a non-threatening gesture. It made a series of clicking sounds, followed by harmonic tones that vibrated in her chest. Ilara slowly raised her empty hands, palms forward. "I come in peace," she said, aware of how cliché the words sounded but unable to think of a better first greeting. "My name is Commander Ilara Chen of the Terran Exploration Corps." The being tilted its head, the clicking sounds increasing in tempo. It reached out and gently touched her forehead, just above her healing wound. A sensation like static electricity passed between them, and Ilara gasped as images flooded her mind. Impressions of the city, the planet, and a deep, overwhelming sense of age and wisdom. "You? Hurt," a voice echoed in her mind, the words halting and strange, but unmistakably communication. "Come." The telepathic connection faded as the being withdrew its touch, but the invitation was clear. Ilara nodded, decision made. She followed the group toward the Crystal City, aware that she was making history. The first human to make contact with this species, even if there might be no one to ever hear the tale. The aliens led her through the city, other inhabitants stopping to observe her with what she interpreted as curiosity. The architecture was even more remarkable up close, the crystal structures grown, rather than built, shaped by some process she couldn't begin to understand. They'd brought her to a central chamber within the mountain itself, a vast space where the blue light was brightest, pulsing from a central crystal column that stretched from floor to ceiling. Here, a being larger than the others awaited, its skin patterns more complex, its movements more deliberate. When it touched her forehead, the telepathic connection was immediate and powerful. "I am Thaylorn, Elder of the Crystallis." The voice in her mind was clearer now, feminine in quality. "You are very far from your kind. Ilara Chen of Terra. My ship was destroyed," Ilara explained, wondering if thoughts or spoken words were better for communication. "I am the only survivor, as far as I know." Images of understanding and sympathy flowed through the connection. "We have watched the stars for many cycles, waiting for others to find us. Once, our people traveled between worlds, but that knowledge was lost in the great dimming." Ilara saw flashes of history, a once mighty civilization that had spread across multiple star systems, brought low by a cataclysm she couldn't quite comprehend. The Crystallis had been stranded on this world for thousands of years, their technology degrading, their numbers dwindling. "We are dying," Thaylorn continued, sadness coloring the thought. "The heart crystal weakens." Images of the central column filled Ilara's mind, along with complex information about its function. It was a power source, life support, and repository of their collective knowledge all in one. When it fails, our city dies. We die. Ilara felt the weight of their plight alongside her own desperate situation. "I'm not sure how I can help," she admitted. "I'm stranded here myself, with limited resources." "You are different," Thaylorn replied. "Your mind works differently. Perhaps you will see what we cannot." It was a slim hope for both of them, a stranded human and a dying alien civilization finding salvation in each other. But as Ilara looked around at the magnificent crystal city and the beings who had welcomed her despite her alien nature, she made her decision. "I'll try," she promised. "Show me everything about the heart crystal. Let's see if human ingenuity can find a solution where none seemed possible." Thaylorn's relief and gratitude washed over her in waves. "Rest first. Heal. Then we will begin." As she was led to quarters prepared for her, a chamber hastily adapted to accommodate her different physiology, Ilara found herself smiling despite her circumstances. She was stranded on an alien world with little hope of rescue, but she wasn't alone. And perhaps, just perhaps, this first contact would lead to salvation for both her and the Crystallis. In the chamber assigned to her, Ilara activated her personal log, recording what might be the most important first contact report in human history, even if no one ever heard it. This is Commander Ilara Chen, Day 1 among the Crystallis. I came here as a victim of circumstance, but I remain by choice. They need help, and so do I. We'll find a way forward together. Outside her window, the crystal city pulsed with blue light, a heartbeat growing fainter with each passing day. Time was running out for the Crystallis, and for Ilara as well. Her rations wouldn't last forever, and the alien food would require careful testing before she could rely on it. But for the first time since the crash, she felt purpose returning. She would save this civilization, or she would die trying. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. The human solution. 3 weeks into her stay with the Crystallis, Ilara had established a rudimentary laboratory in her quarters. Her uniform was worn and patched with local materials, her hair tied back with a strip of iridescent fabric gifted by one of the younger Crystallis. On the makeshift workbench before her lay disassembled components from her escape pod, alongside crystal samples from various parts of the city. The interface is compatible, she muttered to herself, adjusting her multi-tool settings to manipulate the delicate crystal filaments. It's just a matter of finding the right frequency. Daily sessions with Thaylorn had deepened her understanding of the Crystallis technology, an organic crystalline hybrid that functioned on principles similar to quantum computing but incorporated biological elements. The heart crystal was failing because specific harmonics could no longer be generated within its structure, harmonics that the Crystallis themselves once maintained through a form of collective consciousness that had diminished as their population declined. Ilara's plan was ambitious. Repurpose her escape pod's emergency beacon to amplify and modulate the remaining Crystallis mental harmonics, creating a feedback loop that would reinvigorate the heart crystal. It was a desperate gamble that would sacrifice her only chance of being detected by passing human ships, but she had calculated the odds. Without a functioning beacon, her chances of rescue were minimal. But if she could save the Crystallis civilization, they might eventually help her develop a new means of communication. A soft chiming announced the arrival of Zane, a young Crystallis who had become her regular assistant and cultural interpreter. Through their frequent mental connections, Zane had learned human speech patterns faster than the others. Ilara. The council awaits. Zane's voice was melodic even when speaking aloud, the words still accented with clicks and harmonic overtones. They wish to know if progress is made. Tell them I'm ready to test the prototype, Ilara replied, carefully wrapping the crystal circuit hybrid in protective material. But they should understand the risks. This could accelerate the heart's failure if something goes wrong. Zane's skin rippled with patterns that Ilara had learned to recognize as concern. They understand. There is no choice remaining. The outer sections of the city have already gone dark. Together they made their way through the crystal corridors, passing areas where the once bright blue glow had dimmed to barely a flicker. The Crystallis they passed made gestures of respect and hope toward Ilara, placing 3 digits over where their hearts would be if they had human anatomy. She had become a symbol of possibility to them, the alien who appeared in their darkest hour with new ideas and techniques. The council chamber was dimmer than when she'd first arrived, the heart crystal's pulse noticeably weaker. The 5 elders, including Thaylorn, waited in a semicircle around the base of the giant crystal column. Their normally iridescent skin had faded to a dull luster, a visible sign of the energy they were expending to maintain the most critical functions of the city. Ilara Chen brings hope, Thaylorn announced as they entered, her telepathic voice weaker than before, but still clear in Ilara's mind. I bring a possibility, Ilara corrected gently, unwrapping her device. I can make no guarantees. She explained the principles behind her creation, using both words and allowing Thaylorn to extract the technical concepts directly from her mind to share with the other elders. The process left her with a pounding headache, but it was more efficient than trying to translate complex scientific concepts across their vastly different understandings of physics. "We must begin immediately," one of the other elders declared, their patterns showing urgency. "The heart will not sustain another full cycle." Ilara nodded, moving to the base of the crystal with her device. She would need to integrate it directly into the heart's structure, a process that would require precision, and more importantly, perfect timing with the crystallus mental harmonics. "I'll need all of you to focus your thoughts as we discussed," she instructed, looking around at the gathered elders and the additional crystallus who had come to witness the attempt. "When I give the signal, project the first harmony together." As she worked to connect her device to the heart crystal, a sudden vibration ran through the chamber. At first, she thought it was the crystal responding to her modifications, but the alarmed patterns rippling across the crystallus skin told her otherwise. "What's happening?" she asked Zane, who had moved closer protectively. "Something enters our atmosphere," Zane replied, head tilted as if listening to distant communication. "A vessel, not of our making." Ilara's heart leaped. Could it be a rescue ship? Had the Pathfinder managed to get a distress signal out before its destruction? She wanted to rush outside, to see for herself, but the integration was at a critical stage. "I can't stop now," she said, both to Zane and herself. "We have to complete this regardless of who's arriving." The next hour was the most intense of Ilara's life. As she worked to calibrate her device with the heart crystal, reports came in of a ship landing near her original crash site. The crystallus sent observers but maintained a cautious distance. Ilara forced herself to focus on the task at hand, her fingers moving with surgical precision as she connected the final circuits. "Now," she called out, activating the device. The elders and gathered crystallus began their harmonic projection, a sound like 1,000 crystal glasses singing at once filling the chamber. Ilara's device pulsed with energy, channeling and amplifying the mental harmonics into the heart crystal. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the blue glow intensified, spreading outward from the connection point. The heart crystal's pulse strengthened, its rhythm stabilizing. Cheers, or the crystallus equivalent, a rippling harmonic chord, filled the chamber as the light spread, reaching dormant sections of the city that had gone dark weeks ago. Ilara sank to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. It had worked. The heart crystal wasn't fully restored. That would take time as the enhanced harmonics gradually rebuilt its internal structure. But the immediate crisis was averted. The crystallus would survive. Zane helped her to her feet as Thalorn approached, her skin now glowing vibrantly with renewed energy. "You have saved us, Ilara Chen." The elder's telepathic voice was strong again, filled with gratitude. "Your name will become part of our song of remembrance." Before Ilara could respond, another crystallus rushed into the chamber, patterns of excitement and confusion rippling across its skin. It communicated rapidly with Thalorn through their mental connection, too fast for Ilara to follow. "The vessel," Thalorn finally explained to her. "It bears markings similar to your own. Your people have come." Disbelief and hope warred within Ilara. After so long believing herself stranded forever, the prospect of rescue seemed almost unreal. "Take me to them," she requested, gathering her strength. The journey to the landing site was a blur, her mind racing with questions. How had they found her? Who had survived the Pathfinder's destruction? As they crested the final ridge overlooking the valley, where her escape pod had crashed, she saw it, a Terran search and rescue vessel, significantly smaller than the Pathfinder, but unmistakably human in design. A group of figures in Explorer Corps uniforms stood near her damaged escape pod, scanning the area. One of them looked up at movement on the ridge, and Ilara saw recognition dawn even at this distance. "C.T. Heen." The shout carried across the valley, and suddenly the rescue party was rushing toward her. Captain Hernandez, her commanding officer from the Pathfinder, reached her first, his weathered face showing disbelief and relief. "We thought everyone was lost," he said, gripping her shoulders as if to confirm she was real. When we detected your pod's emergency beacon activating 3 weeks ago, we couldn't believe it. Ilara blinked in confusion. My beacon. But I. She turned to look at Zane and the other Crystallis, who had accompanied her, understanding dawning. You reactivated my beacon. Zane's skin rippled with what she now recognized as the Crystallis version of a smile. After you sacrificed your chance of rescue for us, we could not allow you to remain stranded. The young ones studied your technology while you worked with the elders. We found a way to replicate its function without disrupting your device. Tears sprang to Ilara's eyes, the full impact of their gesture hitting her. While she had been working to save their civilization, they had been working to ensure she could return to her own. Captain Hernandez was staring at the Crystallis in wonder. You've made first contact, he stated the obvious, professional training taking over. We need to establish proper diplomatic protocols, inform Earth Central. Captain, Ilara interrupted, there's so much more than that. She turned to face both her human colleagues and her Crystallis friends. The Crystallis civilization is ancient, spacefaring, but they've been stranded here for millennia after losing much of their technology. We've just stabilized their power source, but they have knowledge that could revolutionize our understanding of crystal-based computing, telepathic communication, and sustainable energy. Thalorn stepped forward, her imposing presence causing the human rescue party to step back instinctively. She reached out one 7-fingered hand toward Captain Hernandez in a gesture Ilara had taught her. A human handshake. We have much to learn from each other. Thalorn spoke aloud, her voice musical and strange, but the words clear enough to understand. Ilara Chen has opened the way. The captain hesitated for only a moment before taking the alien hand carefully in his own. On behalf of the Terran Exploration Corps and all humanity, we welcome this opportunity for friendship and exchange of knowledge. As the humans in Crystallis began their first official diplomatic interaction, Ilara felt the weight of the past weeks lift from her shoulders. She had come to this planet as a lone survivor, with nothing but her training and determination. She would leave as an ambassador between species, having proved that even abandoned and alone, humanity's greatest strength was its ability to reach out, to connect, and to find solutions where none seemed possible. The Crystal City gleamed in the distance, its blue light strong and steady once more. Not far from it, the human rescue ship stood ready to establish the first official human outpost on a Crystallis world. Two civilizations that might never have met were now poised to help each other reach new heights. Ilara smiled as Captain Hernandez began organizing teams for diplomatic exchange and scientific collaboration. This was just the beginning. From the desperate crash of one human's escape pod would come a partnership that would change the course of both their species forever. Not bad for a stranded commander, she murmured to herself, watching as human and Crystallis engineers already began comparing notes on their respective technologies. Not bad at all.